He had almost nothing left in 2008. The year was a brutal storm of financial collapse. He was a man standing on the edge of a cliff, the ground crumbling beneath his feet. By 2021, a little over a decade later, he would be recognized as the richest person on the planet. This story, however, is not what you think it is. It is not a tale of luck. Nor is it about a single brilliant idea that changed the world overnight. It is a story about staring into the abyss and refusing to blink. A chronicle of choices so audacious they bordered on madness. It is a lesson forged in the fires of near-total failure. The contrast is dramatic, almost unbelievable. From the depths of financial despair, where payrolls were missed and personal loans were begged for, to a net worth that eclipsed the GDP of many nations. How does one man bridge such a chasm? But in a series of incredibly difficult decisions made under immense pressure, it's about the raw, unglamorous work that happens when the cameras are off and the world has written you off as a failure. It is about the psychology of a person who sees a 10% chance of success as a risk worth taking, especially when the alternative is a 100% certainty of regret. What truly happened in those dark days of 2008? This journey began with a tiny seed of capital. Some accounts say he started with just $28,000 of his own money. That small pile of cash was not a limitation. It was a focusing agent. It forced a discipline that larger sums might have diluted. Every dollar had to be accounted for. Every decision had to be ruthlessly scrutinized for its potential return. This constraint, this forced scarcity, became the crucible in which his entire strategy was forged. It meant there was no room for error, no safety net, and no turning back. We often imagine that great success is built on a foundation of resources and stability. But for this man, the foundation was anything but stable. It was a patchwork of borrowed time, sleepless nights, and the constant, gnawing fear of impending doom. He chose to live in the heart of the storm, sleeping on office couches and factory corners, subsisting on cheap food just to keep his ventures afloat. He was not just the CEO, he was the janitor, the engineer, the fundraiser, and the sole believer when all others had lost faith. Why would anyone endure such hardship when walking away was the easy, rational choice? The answer was a vision so powerful, it eclipsed the pain of the present moment. His strategy was deceptively simple, yet monumentally ambitious. He had two companies, two grand bets on humanity's future. Tesla, accelerate transition to sustainable energy with electric cars. SpaceX, make life multiplanetary with reusable rockets. The winter of 2008 brought more than just cold weather. It brought a financial ice age. The global markets had seized up. Lehman Brothers had collapsed. Banks were failing. Credit was impossible to find. For his two fledgling companies, Tesla, SpaceX, both were hemorrhaging cash. They were just weeks, if not days, away from bankruptcy. The situation was dire. He faced an impossible choice, a moment that would define his legacy. He could let one company die to save the other, or he could risk everything he had left to try to save both. The odds were not in his favor. It was a moment of truth, stripped of all glamour. On Christmas Eve of 2008, while the world celebrated with family, he was on the phone fighting for the survival of his life's work. The fate of SpaceX had come down to a single launch. After 3 consecutive heartbreaking failures, the company was out of money and out of time. The 4th launch of the Falcon 1 was not just another test flight, it was an existential moment. Success meant survival, a potential contract from NASA, a chance to continue the quest for reusable rockets. Failure meant the end of the company. The doors would close, the employees would be sent home, the dream of making humanity a multi-planetary species would die on a remote island in the Pacific. The pressure on the team was immense, a crushing weight of expectation and fear. They worked day and night, fueled by caffeine and sheer willpower. They pored over every schematic, checked every line of code, tested every component with obsessive detail. They had analyzed the previous failures and believed they had fixed the fatal flaws. On September 28, 2008, the rocket stood on the launch pad, a slender white needle pointed at the sky. As the countdown began, the tension was palpable. While SpaceX had achieved orbit, Tesla was mired in its own earthly struggle, what he famously called production hell. Getting the Model 3, the company's first mass-market vehicle, into high-volume production proved far more challenging than anyone expected. The factory was in chaos. The highly automated production line, his imagined alien dreadnought, was failing. Robots weren't performing correctly. Bottlenecks were bringing the assembly to a grinding halt. The company was burning through cash. Promised delivery dates were slipping. Wall Street was losing patience. The stock was plummeting. He refused to manage from a distance. He moved into the factory. He claimed a sleeping bag on the floor. He slept on a couch in a conference room. He said he would not leave until problems were solved. He was there 24/7, walking the line. For all the talk of vision and daring, the real story of the turnaround was written in numbers. He was not just a dreamer, physicist who thought in first principles, businessman who was obsessed with the underlying mathematics of his ventures. He guided every major decision not by flashy promises or market sentiment, but by cold, hard math. By 2021, the world had fundamentally changed, and he had been a primary catalyst. He was listed as the wealthiest person on the planet. Make one bold bet. Use real numbers as your unwavering guide.